bunnies, it's Jenny. Welcome back to my channel. Make sure to leave that like and subscribe button as it really helps me out. And in this video, I'm going to give you tips and examples of how to come out as an age regressor, little, ABDL, whatever it may be, all the steps, and it's all really pretty much the same. So just apply it to what you want to come out as. You can use this advice for telling anyone. All my examples will be from telling my partners, but just keep in mind that you can really apply most of this to anyone. The first step is going to be feeling confident and comfortable within yourself, fully knowing your little side. And if you need help as to how to do that, go ahead and check out my video about how to be confident in diapers. And if you're not an ABDL, you're just a regressor, the basics are very much the same of just finding out who you are. So find out exactly what little space looks like for you, find out why you're regressing, if it's trauma or if it's simply for fun or maybe a mix of both. Get very personal before you come out to anyone. You really need to discover who you are, and you need to feel safe and comfortable within yourself. You need to be dependent enough on yourself that no matter what the reaction may be, you know you'll fall back on yourself and you'll be okay. There's different ways to go about this. I recommend shadow work, maybe some meditation, and allowing yourself to be little and embracing that side and enjoying it. Now, we all know there is a dark side to age regression as well. There's tantrums and very strong emotions. There's a lot that goes on. There's many videos explaining it, and I'm sure you have a personal experience with it, and if not, you probably will eventually. I need you to really recognize that behavior, because it's not your partner's job to really take care of that. And I'm going to explain what I mean more in depth later on, but just know that you need to be in charge of your own behavior and actions and the things you say and do even when you're regressed. Because if you put that on your partner, it's going to come to a lot of complications in your relationship, whoever that might be. So that's why it's very important to be independent. I think you need to be a strong person at heart, and you need to really just work with yourself a lot before thinking about coming out. Now, once you've done that, the next step or advice I would give you is to not show them Sorry, I keep getting interrupted by my dogs like in every single video. What I'm trying to say is that I don't think it's a good idea to show your partner or whoever you want to come out to other littles or ABDL videos or posts or anything. When you're first coming out to someone, I think it's very important to be personal with them, because they have a connection with you. They love you. They're gonna listen to you, not some random stranger on the internet that they have no relationships with at all. I appreciate oh y'all, you saying you inspire me and you want to show your partner my video, and I think that's great, and I really appreciate that, and I think eventually you can come to that point where you can, but when you're first coming out, just don't show them any videos. I think we do this because we're scared, and we're scared of communication, we're scared of talking outwardly to our person, because for obvious reasons, it is a big step. It is hard to communicate, especially if you start regressing. But it is so important that you just try. Even if you mess up, even if you stumble on your words, at least you put in the effort to be personal and vulnerable with them. I think in the long run, it will be a much better effect if you just sit one-on-one with them, or even call them on the phone, or even text them, but do not send them videos about it, because like I said, they have no connection with this person, and there's a lot of room for misinterpretation because everybody's little space is different. And so what may be somebody's truth online may not be 100% your truth. So it's very important that you figure out how you are and what your little space is to you, so that way you can communicate it with them. I think it also shows your partner how strong you are and how serious you are about this, because you're not taking an easy way out by sharing other videos. Now, I understand wanting to maybe watch little space videos together, but just wait until the dynamic is already established first before you come out to someone. I think it will really help your case a lot. And in the end, you can feel proud that you just did it. You can feel proud of yourself for achieving something. If you're having a hard time communicating these words, you better start interviewing your stuffies, okay? Set them all up and just talk to them. Talk to yourself in the mirror, talk to yourself before you go to bed, record yourself talking. I think it will be a lot better for you. If you can journal, you can write down what you want to say. You can even script the conversation. But I need you to be personal and do this on your own. I thought of one more thing that I really need to say about communication. You'll hear that all the time, just communicate with your partner, but how do you actually do that? Because communication looks so different than what you expect it to be. Just because you're crying doesn't mean you're not communicating. Okay, so if you end up crying, that's okay because you still communicated. Just because you're stumbling on your words or don't get everything out that you have hoped to say, or maybe get a reaction you didn't want, you still communicated. That's still communication. Okay, so keep that in mind that you are doing it. Just because it's not going to be 100% flowy and perfect doesn't mean you're not communicating. So pat yourself on the back for that because you did it, or you're gonna do it. The next advice I would give is to do not rush into it. Do not rush anything, especially if this is a boyfriend or girlfriend, fiance, wife, I don't care who, but do not rush things. Because I will say for me personally, I think I rushed it. We were like not even half a year into dating and I just came out. I was like, oh, I want this. And I think it was a little shocking and it made him draw back a little. And I do not blame him for that. I was just very excited and I wish I would have done more research on myself, and I wish I would have been more confident in what I had to say instead of just springing this out of nowhere. It was literally out of nowhere, and I don't think that's a good way to go about it. I know you're excited, I know you're nervous, I know you want this relation dynamic so bad and you want a caregiver or you want to just open up because you feel like you're hiding something and you don't want to hide anything from anyone, but like I said, I really need you to take this slow. The best thing you can do for yourself and the people you're coming out to is taking it slow, one step at a time. Make sure you're in an environment where you actually are ready, because our emotions change, especially in little space. They go up and down. So one day you might feel so high thinking, I can conquer the world. I want the whole world to hear me and know that this is what I am, that I am an age regressor and I am proud about it. But the next day you might be at a down low where you're like, I wish I would have never told anyone. I want to hide myself off and I feel very uncomfortable with everyone knowing. So I think you really need to let your moods balance out and make sure they're stable first. A good way to tell when you're actually ready to come out to someone is by drawing out, you know that like Lilo and Stitch where he drew himself and he colored in his behavior every day? I think that will help you actually. So draw out your favorite cartoon character on a piece of paper, mark some different moods down, and your main emotion throughout the day, color it in. And if it's, let's say red is fear, throughout the week, if the majority of your color is red and you have like one green, which is confidence and you're ready to come out, then you know that you're probably not actually ready. Wait until you're stable enough. Wait until the color on that page is mostly green. If you can keep track of your moods, you'll know when you're actually ready to come out. Same with rushing things. If you don't really know who you are and what your little space is, it's going to be very hard to communicate this one-on-one. You're probably going to shut off. You're going to think they're judging you. You're going to think they're rejecting you, and it's going to be very hard for you to come back to it. You're going to be at a low, and I'm just saying that from experience. You need to take it slow. Like I said, figure out who you are so you know how to confidently communicate that this is what you want or this is who you are. If you can show confidence, then I think they'll respect you a lot more. The next step is letting go of expectations. I know you're excited, and so you're probably expecting your partner or whoever to act well. You want them to jump for joy that you're communicating. You want them to be your caregiver. You want them to just automatically switch over into this dynamic with you, or automatically accept that this is who you are and no research done after that whatsoever. There's a lot of expectation on this person, but you have to realize that this person is not you. They cannot read your mind. They do not know. If you're coming out to them, they probably do not know anything about this, or very, very little. So I think it's very important to let go of expectations, because you're gonna get yourself too excited, and when a negative reaction happens, you're gonna shut down and close off. Contrary to that, if you are expecting rejection, expecting a negative reaction, when you come out, you're gonna feel very negatively towards it. You're gonna feel more scared. You're probably gonna shut down before you can even communicate what you want to do, and it's probably gonna lead to a lot of tears, especially if you start regressing in that moment. So I think it's very important to let go of expectations, let go of the reaction, and just let it be. remove yourself from your body. Just kind of observe. I know detaching is scary and it can lead into panic attacks and many bad things, but you can also use this as a tool to your advantage. If you can detach yourself from the emotion, then you can simply watch the scene playing out in front of you and you can have a very calm reaction to everything and honestly come up with better answers on spot when they throw in the answers you weren't expecting. So I think it will help a lot if you can detach yourself from the situation. Be okay with if your partner does not accept it right away. If they're not fully ready to move on into being your caregiver, or if your parents do not want to be a part of your little space, if they don't want to know any more about it, be okay with that. Because over time, things will change. The more they grow to love you, understand you, it will eventually happen naturally. And I don't think it's okay to force your partner into something that they don't want to be a part of, or threaten to leave them just because they're not ready to be a part of it. I know it's very important to us littles to have a caregiver sometimes. Sometimes that's like a need in our relationship. That's a must, and that's okay. It's okay to have needs and deal breakers and stuff that you really have to have in a relationship. And if that's having a caregiver for you, that's great. Don't let go of that. But do not threaten to leave them just because they're not ready right now. To give an example, in my experience, what happened to me is we were in the car and I kind of just sprung it up on him out of nowhere. We were only a couple months into dating, I think, and I had actually been in a little space drought for 2 years before him. He is what made me regress, and so I think I had this expectation that he already knew about it and he was excited to be about it because of the way he talked to me and the things he said we could do together. And so I think I just automatically assumed he knew about it, or at least subconsciously thought that. And so I expected a very good reaction, and whenever he told me a very insensitive joke about it, or made an insensitive comment whenever I came out, it crushed me. And my whole life was like flashing before my eyes. I was rethinking everything. I was like, I thought this person loved me. It's not that he didn't love me, it's just he didn't know anything about it. I thought he did. I remember looking back to my younger self, and I remember having a breakdown in his car or wanting to go home and just crying. And even though he reassured, like he comforted me then, he was like, oh, I didn't mean to be so rude. I didn't know this was a serious thing. I still was reserved. I didn't want it. And I feel like that put a lot of pressure on him to just accept it and just jump right into it, because I remember after that he was like, okay, we can incorporate this, we can do this, we'll do what you want. But it wasn't looking after himself and knowing what he wanted and what was best for him. I think he saw my very depressed reaction and felt a lot of pressure, because he does love me and he did care for me, so he wanted to do anything to make me feel okay. But I was being very selfish, and I didn't know that perhaps that wasn't making him feel okay, him feel safe. I remember I randomly called him daddy one day too, and I don't think that was necessarily okay for me to do. I wish I would have asked first. I wish I would have brought it up more and asked if this is okay. He didn't have a bad reaction towards it. This was probably now half a year in, because we had our conversation. I didn't bring it up any much after that. We just kind of like left it. And then like a couple months later, I called him daddy at a store. Like that probably made him very uncomfortable, but he didn't show that because I knew he didn't want me to cry, me to feel bad. So it was just kind of awkward. and then I didn't do it again. But I think do not just spring up nicknames like that on your person. That is where I messed up. That's where I got a little too excited and a little too impatient, and I rushed things, and I very much regret doing that. But that's why I'm saying learn from my experience. Not do anything without consent, without communication, because you do not want to put your partner in an uncomfortable or vulnerable state if they do not need to be in it. So I think you really need to give it time. This is a topic that you can discuss over time. You do not have to lay everything flat, because you're gonna change. Your thoughts on things will change, even if you're a regressor. So as you get older and get more experience, it's best to just talk about it over time instead of springing it all at once. What I've done differently is said, this is who I am. I've been a little for how many years? I have been one since 7th grade. For me, it's not a full-on difference. It's just mentally I feel very small. I like to do more childish things, and it just makes me feel good. Instead of saying, I want you to be my daddy, I like acting like a baby and a little girl. I think I could have worded that a lot better to feel more comfortable and make sense with him. So wording things is super important. Learn how you want to word things. It will give you a much different reaction. And when they have questions, if you don't know the answer to it, say that. Say, I never thought about it that way before, or I don't have the answer to it. I will think on it and I will get back to you. Do not just leave it up in the air where there's a lot of tension and a lot of confusion and all their answers are unsolved and your answers are unsolved as well. So just very much try to be patient with it. If they do decide to be your caregiver, I still wouldn't recommend to force or push all this caregiver dynamic on them. I would still simply say take that slow. So maybe at night before you're going to bed, say, thank you for having the conversation with me. Make sure you show them appreciation for even having the conversation with you. And then I would, if you want to show them some of your little side, maybe send them a picture of your stuffed animal. Be like, she makes me feel small, or your stuffy makes you feel small, or show them you cuddled up in a blanket. Ease into it before you start calling them daddy. I think you can send them cute little pictures of you when you're regressed, and you can say, I'm regressed right now. I know that we'll never actually do that because littles cannot tell their partner when they're regressed, but you can show signs kind of hinting that you are, and I think it will be easier for them to understand. Keep in mind your person has boundaries too, so ask them what those boundaries are. They might change over time because, like I said, we are constantly changing day by day. So if their boundary is, let's say you incorporated ABDL, let's say their boundary is that they don't want to change your diaper, or they don't want to be a part of ABDL, but they do want to be part of your little space, then don't show them your ABDL stuff, because they don't have to do anything that they don't want to. Just because you want it doesn't mean they feel the same. And the same goes for you. If you have a boundary that they are crossing, you tell them that this is a boundary. So maybe you don't want to be forced into little space in public. If they're calling you little girl or pulling you around in public and you know that makes you regress and you don't want that, then communicate them, ask them not to do that, ask them for it to just be an at-home thing. Now that's just a vague example, but whatever your boundaries are, you can establish them over time and communicate them. Boundaries will be broken eventually, but I think that's okay. I'm trying to word this in the best way possible because boundaries are not okay to cross. We all know that, and there's definitely lines. But when you're first figuring them out together, they're gonna get crossed because of miscommunication, misunderstandings. It's gonna happen, and so be patient with it still. But if you're very clear on what it is, you're still crossing it and y'all have gone over it a couple times, then yeah, remove yourself from the situation. But I think it's okay to understand and accept your partner's flaws, that we're not perfect and they might make mistakes, because you would want the same treatment in return, right? So just be patient even with boundaries. That's the best advice you can get, is be patient. If you're telling somebody you're a regressor and you feel the breakdown coming or you feel the nerves, remove, step back, tell them that. Be like, hey, I know I wanted to have this conversation, but it's getting a little hard for me to speak about it. Can we come back to it later? That's all you have to do. And say that you're not trying to be confusing or complicated, but it is really hard for you to talk about, and that can lead into telling things over time and not rushing anything. So the best thing you can do is not rush things. It's very important that you're safe. And speaking of being safe, make sure this is the person you can come out to, that you already have trust established with them. Like I said, I rushed into it way too soon. Luckily, he's a very good guy. But you need to know that you can trust this person. Have a connection built with them. Love them. Love them for who they are. Have them love them for who you are, not a dynamic you want to incorporate. So make sure you have security within whoever you want to come out to. Then I think it will save you a lot of heartache later on. You are being very vulnerable. You are putting yourself in a situation. So if this is not someone you know you can 100% trust, even though there's nerves, if you can still trust them, enough to come out to them, then that's great. But if not, if there is hesitation, not because of internal fear, but because of how the person is or how you pretty much know they'll react, then don't come out to them. If this is a relationship, if this is somebody you're dating, then should you be dating them? Really ask yourself that. If you can't actually 100% trust them and you don't have 100% love for them, then why are you dating them? And if it's the beginning stage, then you don't need to be coming out to them at all. You need to wait. Waiting is gonna save you, okay? So just wait. Same goes with your parents. If you do not feel like you are in a safe environment, if you know they are extremely closed off, then why do you have to tell them? Is this someone you actually have to tell? Like, let's say casual friend at school. Does that person really need to know? Do they? If it's your best friend that you've known for years, they still don't have to know. You're allowed to have personal things, but if you actually truly want to tell them and you love your friend and you know they're gonna support you, then go ahead. Ask them to keep it a secret for you though, and if they don't respect that, then you know you don't need this person in your life, and at least it showed you their true colors. So whatever you do, just make sure you're safe emotionally and mentally first. Now let's say this is a husband or wife. I think it's pretty important to tell everything to your partner. Now that's just me. That's just how I am. I don't like any secrets. I am so open and honest with him, it's probably annoying on his side. So just keep in mind, if you feel like you're hiding something from them, then it's okay to tell them. They might not be fully accepting of it, but at least you can get it off your chest. In the end, at least you know you tried. At least you're not hiding anything. If that you don't want to hide. It's okay to have secrets. It's okay to make it completely only about you, but if you feel like it's necessary to tell someone, just follow the steps I told you. Change your mentality, detach a little bit, and have patience. Honey, it's gonna be okay. It might feel like everything is crashing down, but pain is temporary. You'll move on. You'll meet people who love and accept you. Even if it doesn't seem like that right now, you have to be open. You have to allow yourself to be open and embrace everyone and respect everyone. So I think that's the best advice I could give you. If you need help being confident, like I said, you can check out my other video and then come back to this one, or use the two together. So thank you so much for joining. I hope this helped you. If you have any more questions about it, just let me know in the comments and I'll make sure to respond. Stay healthy and happy. Good luck on your journey. Bye.